told you that you could improve your AI model performance without requiring millions on retraining? What if you could make your multilingual AI 17% better with just 5 simple solutions? Isn't that sound exciting? Let's dive deep into this groundbreaking research papers by Cohere researchers when life gives you samples, the benefits of scaling up inference compute for multilingual LLMs. I am Harsh, and in the next 5 minutes, you will learn about a technology that is democratizing AI model performance across various languages. Now, the core problem is when you use traditional approach, uh, if you want to improve your AI model performance, you either do more training like that pre-training stuff, or you require more data, more reliable data, or you do hyperparameter tuning. And you know that these approaches are basically expensive and also time consuming. The new approach is using inference time scaling, generate multiple outputs in parallel, select the best one, and now no model retraining is required. This is the approach which is being explored by this research paper by the researchers of these research papers. And they also identified the gap that most research focuses on English and specific domains like math and code. And now researchers basically focus on multilingual and multitask generalization in this research paper. Now they basically use a lemonade analogy, like making the best lemonade from your lemon tree or your trained LLM model. So they use two main strategies, like first is sampling and second one is selection. In sampling, basically strategically choosing which lemons or which outputs to harvest, like how many lemons or which lemons to pick, and then in selection evaluating each LLM or each output to make the best lemonade. So which lemon produces the best lemonade, or how to evaluate the results, or how to evaluate that output which is coming from the LLM model. You need to understand that. Now they basically tested on these models like IA Expense 8 billion model, which is multilingual model optimized for diverse languages. Also Quen 3 8 billion model, which is strong for multilingual capabilities. And they also use this Command A model, which is 111 billion model, and it is used both as a test subject and also as a LLM judge. 7 languages are tested like English, French, German, Japanese, Chinese, Russian, and Spanish. The tasks on which these models are tested are known as ARENA, MGSM, and WMT. ARENA is basically open-ended generation, contain open-ended tasks. MGSM basically is mathematical reasoning, like it contains high-grade school mathematical problems, and WMT basically contains machine translation, that English to other translation tasks. And they basically uses the budget constraints, like taking only 5 samples which are realistic for production settings, and they only focus on low end inference scaling, not on thousand or hundred of samples. Now key discovery is language temperature sensitivity, that you need to know that temperature sampling basically controls diversity and quality. If you keep high temperature, then you will get more diverse results, but also on riskier side. If you put low temperature, then you get more focused results, but also on the safer side. So critical findings is basically, if you use English as a language, then you get more stable quality even at high temperature. If you use non-English, then you get much risk at extreme temperatures. They also uses risk and hope and evaluation metrics, like English get 25.4% of hope and 37.7% of risk, and non-English get 37.2% of hope and 44.5% of risk. What hope is? Hope is basically how better your best sample is performing, and risk is how worst your worst sample is performing. So you can see that non-English languages have higher potential if you use smarter sampling technique. But if your sampling technique or method is not that smarter, then it has also some kind of risk. This is the graph. You can look after it, that you get 25.4% of hope and 37.7% of risk and hope in basically English language, and for non-English language you have 37.2% of hope and 44.5% of risk. So you can understand that non-English languages have higher potential but also riskier at high temperatures. Now, hope is basically calculated with this formula: best sample score minus greedy score divided by greedy score, and risk is basically calculated by this formula: worst sample score minus greedy score and divided by greedy score. You can calculate it. Now, For sampling technique, they use hash sampling. Hash sampling is a type of technique in which basically out of 5 samples you generate 4 samples at moderate temperature like between 0.7 to 0.9 and included one greedy sample as an insurance policy. So what are the results of using hash sampling? You get 2.4% points improvement on English and 2.2% of points improvement in non-English. So what are the technical enhancements? This technique can be used with minimum p-sampling, probability pruning at token level, and also it reduces risk by pruning low quality tokens and particularly effective for machine translation tasks. Now, what is MBR? MBR is minimum base risk and N is best of N samples technique. These both are the techniques for selecting the best output. The main difference is it picks the answer that is safest and most reliable and on average, and it also compares outputs with each other. In best of n sample technique, it basically generates n outputs with 5 samples and it scores each output individually using a reward model or a utility matrix, and it then picks basically a single sample with the highest score. Now selection challenges is choosing the best sample. If you use traditional methods like maximum likelihood, it has poor calibration and similarity based MPR. It also only works for English. But these reward models, best of n samples technique and just based MPR has a high chances of performing far better than traditional methods. Then if for selection technique, they use two techniques like chops and XMBR. In chops, basically LLM judge generates task specific evaluation checklist when all samples are basically evaluated against checklist in one pass, and best sample is basically selected. So traditional methods have low time complexity, and chops method have a very good time complexity as compared to traditional methods. XMBR is also known as cross-lingual minimum base risk. The breakthrough is basically using that multilingual capabilities for better selection. How XMBR works is generates n samples in target language, like for example French, and then generates 3 additional samples in evidence language like English. And judge basically compares target samples across multilingual evidence, selecting the sample with the highest cross-lingual support. This is how cross XMBR works. So the main complete solution is that using sampling like head sampling, uh, a single sample head single temperature sampling at temperature between 0.7 to 0.9, and then include one greedy output as safety net. And for selection, either use chops or XMBR for efficiency and robustness. These are the impressive results. You can see that 8 billion model or versus Gemini, you get 6.8% of average win rate, and in IXPense 8 billion model, you get 17.3% percentage of points. So you can see that you achieved higher performance with just few samples without requiring more samples. Why this matters, you can go through it. Basically, it is cost effective and multilingual equity production ready and generalizable. Or broader implication, you can self-improvement frameworks for LLMs, better multilingual applications we can build. This is technical type. These are future research. These are certain type of questions which still we need to answer, that how do these methods scale with model size, and can we predict optimal sampling strategies or integration with other inference techniques, or all that sort of stuff. Now key takeaways are basically inference time scaling works and has sampling also reduces risk. You need generalized judges more. Generalized judges performs far better than specialized reward models. Was at the end, versatility wins in multi-task setting. You need to cover. You need to basically look after it, and then basically means smart sampling and selection is all you need right now in order to perform in order to make your AI model perform far better than traditional methods. These are the limitations that you still judge dependency, language bias, computational cost, also 5x compute overhead, task specificity may need tuning over specialized domains. And these are the business impact. Now let's do graph. Then you can see then maximum likelihood perform uh, far low than traditional method perform far low, and the new techniques like chops and XMBR performs far better. In this graph, you can see if you use few samples, there is a significant gain. Then after you scale up from 5 to 20 samples, the graph is basically diminishing. Then there is no significant improvement. So you can say there is a significant gain in when you are using few samples, and after you scale up there is no significant improvement. So few samples are only needed to basically improve your AI model performance. So this is the end. I hope you get what I want to convey. Now you can go through that research paper, and then I will also share the slides.